Hi everyone. Today we talk about begging and people that beg. This might be a controversial one for some people, but I'm going to give you my opinions and the facts. Now, probably the most common one you'll get is don't give them money; they'll spend it on drugs, whatever. Yeah. My answer to that, which you might not like, is so what? Okay, until you've been in their position, who are you to judge? Okay, I've known many a person with addiction problems, okay, and it offers them a bit of respite from the situation that they're in. So I say, who are you to judge what they do until you've lived that? And my opinion on it has always been, if I give someone a tenner and they go and spend that on whatever, that's on them for one. But I'd rather they go and spend that tenner on their addiction than do something stupid and potentially mess up theirs and someone else's life. I'll try and look at the bigger picture because unless you've suffered addiction problems, you would never be able to understand it is a disease. It's quite simply it is, and an addict will always be an addict, regardless of if they're clean or not. They will always be an addict. And with regards to things like alcohol, if a person is alcohol dependent and they don't have a drink, it can quite simply be fatal. So, would you rather they spend that money going and getting a bottle of cider and not dying, or would you rather them have a cheese sandwich? I know I'd rather. One thing that you'll find very common in a lot of high streets, and I've witnessed this, is you will have essentially three people, one at each end of a high street and one in the middle. And I'm not going to profile this, however, they're not English, is the best way I'll put this. And they'll generally have a little cardboard sign saying, "Hungry, please help." Tend to not be wearing any shoes. They'll have a little Costa cup and they'll sit there doing this, please help. Right. I've been in a lot of places and I've seen this is how this works. They get dropped off in the morning in a car. Okay, it's a professional scam. Okay, it's a I don't know if they're forced into doing it. Don't know, but it's a scam. So when you see them with their little cardboard sign and their Costa cup and their no shoes on doing this, they're not homeless. Okay, I say generally you'll get three of them. They get dropped off about 7 o'clock in the morning, one at each end of a high street, one in the middle, get picked up again about 6:30 once everyone's done the commute home. Which I think is just disgusting. I really do. And they pretend not to speak English. I'm sorry, but they clearly do. This isn't me having any form of prejudices. It's just you can tell when someone understands when you're talking to them, and they're claiming that they don't. You can tell. The other one you'll get addicts that aren't homeless begging, asking people for money. Now, people that are genuinely homeless, as I've mentioned before, they don't tend to overtly ask for anything. Now, if people approach them and give them things, obviously they're going to be grateful, but they don't tend to overtly ask because they don't want to draw unwanted attention to themselves. And a giveaway to if someone being genuine, you've just got to quite simply look at what they're wearing and what they've got on them. Are they kitted out for the elements that they're in? Like, for example, boots are a gift. If someone's wearing pumps and it's nigh on winter, they're not homeless because, like I say, anyone who's on the streets, they know you need to wear boots. And again, like, are they carrying a bag with them? It's just, are they kitted out for the environment that they're in? Is normally the giveaway. Now, a lot of the people I've known that have been on the streets, they wear clean clothes and they keep themselves clean. So when you see someone in a faded tracksuit that's hanging off them, shoes with holes in that, then not necessarily homeless. Like I say, their priorities are elsewhere. Their priorities aren't keeping themselves clean and presentable. Their priorities are their addiction, which again, as I mentioned, I haven't got a problem with. If someone's an addict, they need to feed that addiction. However, if someone's an addict and they've got a roof to go home to, I'm a little less sympathetic. If someone's an addict on the streets, then I am a bit more sympathetic because not only are you going through that battle of survival, you're going through a addiction or a withdrawal. So I tend to be a little bit more sympathetic to that. Now, what you give to people is entirely on you. I'm not going to say that you should or shouldn't give people anything. However, what I would say is there's only so many cheese sandwiches a person on the streets can eat, you know. And I've said this time and time again. It's far better just to talk to someone, approach them, say if you are inclined that you want to go and get them something, all right, mate, are you hungry? What would you like? You might go and buy them that cheese sandwich. They could be lactose intolerant for or you could, I don't know, buy them a bag of nuts and they're allergic to nuts. You can also talk to people. Probably the best gift you can give anyone who's on the streets is socks. Godsend, absolute godsend. And like I say, it's if you choose to give someone money, at the end of the day, you need cash to survive. You shouldn't. No one's got a right to stipulate how they spend that money. Like I say, if you giving them that tenner means they go out and they can feed their addiction and not do something stupid, which ultimately could ruin their life, and in my eyes, that's £10 well spent. But I know there are people out there that have no sympathy for people with addiction because they've never lived it. And my answer to you is much like homelessness, addiction doesn't discriminate. It can affect anyone. That could be your mum or your dad, that could be your brother or your sister, your son or your daughter. Okay, you're not conditioned to it. It's just some people are addictive in whatever their chosen thing is. And it's the same in homelessness. If you haven't got a support network, it only takes, like I said before, a bad decision, a breakdown of a relationship, loss of a job. It doesn't take much. If you haven't got that support network, you find yourself there. So it doesn't discriminate. And I think this is what people need to try and educate themselves in. Because time and time again, and I've had it more recently in the job that I'm in, not from the people that I've dealt with originally, but some of the other staff that I've had to now encounter, that the more managerial staff that are aware of my situation. I had one of them say to me, have you got a bank account? And I had to bite my tongue because I just wanted to say, mate, I'm 41 years old. Do you think I just appeared on the streets 2 years ago and had absolutely no life before that? And that's not his fault. He's just not very educated in what homelessness is. And it can be very frustrating that people can assume that that's all that defines you. But like I say, you couldn't have had any sort of a past before that you couldn't possibly have a bank account. You're on the streets. You couldn't possibly know how to use a washing machine. So people can be quite ignorant. And like I say, it can be frustrating, but I've learned to just bite my tongue because they're just ignorant. They're not malicious. I say they're just not very educated in what they're dealing with. Which the point of me doing this is to try and educate people. Anyway, big love, and we'll chat soon. Bye.